There we go. Okay, well, I will formally say good afternoon and welcome to the Long School of Medicine. This is a discussion for making a strong application to medical school, and we're going to talk about reapplications also. I know for some of you who are on wait lists here and there, it might be a little too early, but then again, I know you want to get started on thinking about the next cycle. I'm Dr. Kellaway, Dr. Judy Ann Kellaway, and I'm the Associate Dean for Admissions and Outreach for the Long School of Medicine. And part of our awesome A team is Anna Leos, who is in charge of all of our outreach endeavors. So she's here to support us as well. Is that all I wanted to start with? Are there new people to Club Pre-Med? We haven't done one in a little while, and I see familiar faces. It's nice to see you. Anyway, any new people out there? I think probably some new people. Anyway, welcome to all. I see the chat. Great. All right, well, we'll get started and go through this. I hope you will right now, or maybe you have already made a list or made some notes about things that you want to hear about. So please do that for us so we can engage in the Q&A at the end of this, okay? So applicants, reapplicants, making a robust application. So these are some things we notice about people who are successful, okay? They are purposeful, they are organized, they are disciplined, and they use reflection. Has anybody heard me talk lately? I've been talking a lot about reflection, reflection, reflection. Have you heard me talk about this? It's huge. If you want to stand out, if you want your application to make a difference to the reader, you need to use reflection. So I'm gonna emphasize that in a few ways in our discussion today. We look for a variety of experiences. Successful applicants express meaning in those experiences, and you can't do that really unless you're a rare person with that natural talent. You have to use reflection to be able to describe that meaning for us. And they develop strong personal attributes. We'll talk more about that also. Personal attributes are an important part of holistic review, and you don't recognize how important they are and that you could work on them. Okay, we'll talk about that. People who are successful got out of their box, they got out of their town, they got out of their routine in some way or another. They taught themselves something, they improved themselves in some way, and they sought challenge. Lots of us have challenges just fall upon us and we manage and we learn from them. But it's also a good thing to think about seeking out challenge for yourself. Very good. So some things that admissions committee members say um, about successful applicants are that they have a heart of service. They are culturally aware and culturally sensitive. They honor and respect people. They have a lot of interaction with other humans. This is a people business, and they demonstrate that in their application. They're industrious, creative, curious, dynamic. Reapplicants in particular have made improvements in their package there. They have continued healthcare, community service, and extracurricular activities. And we love the fact that some reapplicants are particularly persistent. They are passionate about this, and the passion lives even after several application rounds. So if that's you or any one of you, please keep that in mind. You know, if your dream is in front of you, keep following it, you know, and keep getting advice. Um, let's see, more comments. Sometimes the pieces that are a little bit less than are that the motivation is not clear. And that, again, that takes reflection. I say this often. If I ask any of you, please tell me right now, why do you want to be a doctor? All of you would say, I want to help people. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it does not sound trite to us. It sounds great, but you have to go beyond that and explain more. And that's going to take some reflection. There's that big capital glittery R again. Sometimes committee members will say this person really is kind of unidimensional and hasn't gotten out of their box or their comfort zone to challenge themselves with things. And a big one missing would be that there aren't any patients or encounters with other people, not only patients, but people who you're trying to help through your service activities as well. All this making sense to you, I'm sure, right? Other comments, sometimes in the interview, again, lack of motivation, lack of enthusiasm, and the answers are superficial. How do you fix a superficial answer? Reflection, right? Lack of motivation. So we really train our committee well, I think, to recognize personality versus personal attributes or communication skills. So but make it easier on everybody if you know you're an introvert, if you know you're a little bit less articulate in a stressful setting, you're really going to need to practice for that interview, okay? And bring it. So show us the enthusiasm, show us the positive attitude about it, show us your smile and your eagerness to do this. For reapplicants who have not been successful, maybe you really have to make a change in that application. You need to look at what you need to fix and make sure those things are addressed. So committee members might say that they don't see any changes in the application, the subsequent application. There aren't current activities. This is hard for people who are supporting families or supporting themselves in full-time work. It's hard, but you really need to kind of continue. If this is what you want to do, if this is what you want to be as a physician, you should be really spending extra time to seek those healthcare activities, learning about medicine, helping people in a variety of ways. So we really would like to see some of these activities continue to be current, in your current biography there. Deficiencies are not corrected sometimes, and sometimes the pathway just isn't clear. If you're a career changer and you've been out for a while, sometimes it's hard for us to weave the story. So make sure that you're telling the story clearly. And all of this can be done in advance to maximize your success. And sometimes people wonder, like, why didn't I get in? And I have numbers, part 1, 2, and 3. Part number 1 is that in any given year, most people do not get into medical school. So keep that in mind. I don't mean to be like a downer, but I want you to be real. It's competitive. There's a lot of people out there. So across the US, we have about 50,000 applicants and 20,000 medical school spots. Now we ought to have 40,000. We ought to have 50,000 spots for everybody because there are many more capable future physicians than we have medical school spots. Okay. So that's numbers part 1. Numbers part 2 has to do with the timeline. And I have some caution about this one. You hear, don't you, from your advisors everywhere? Apply early, early, early. Get that in. The timeline, the cycle opens up on May 1. Be there, ready. You should do some phone homework and be getting ready now, much earlier, right? It takes years to put all this together. You should really be spending some good quality time to get that application up to a beautiful, robust level before May 1. But sometimes you're starting a grand new activity after finals. So you've got the later part of May or June where you're excited about this summer activity that's going to start. The point being, early is good, but you need to apply when you're ready and when you have the most to tell us about. If some of the great things are in your planned section, that's not going to be as great. Okay. So that I would use caution. Sometimes, now, do you know this already? That you can submit if everything looks beautiful and you're ready, but you are studying, you're going to finish out the academic year, or you need another month to study for the MCAT. Please put your application in if it's ready. Don't wait on your applicant. You need an MCAT for most schools to screen you for an interview. That is true. But it takes TMDSAS weeks sometimes, weeks to process your application and probably wait for your check to clear and all that. So just if it's ready, put that in and we can wait on the MCAT. People will be watching for those sorts of updates along the cycle. And number three is the metric. So just be very self-aware, do your research, keep lists or databases of these things that you're finding out. I have some suggestions for you later if it comes up. You need to know that, you know, the average GPA for applicants who matriculate to medical schools is about 3.6-ish. You need to know, and Texas is about the same, probably 3.6, 3.7. The average MCAT in the state of Texas and across the nation for people who gain a spot in medical school is a 5.12. So you need to know that. Are you aiming for a 5.12? Let's talk MCAT for a second. Are you aiming for a 5.12? No, no, you're aiming for a 5.28, right? When you take a course, you're not aiming to make less than an A, right? You're doing your best. And same is true for this. And in fact, I don't know how like people aim for anything differently than the most you can get correct. So study well. Those are the numbers. Sometimes we see people who are undersellers. So there's reflection again. Maybe they're not explaining to us fully what was involved in this activity, or quite commonly when I have done file reviews, I say, well, why didn't you put that in there? And you didn't think it was good enough to put in there. So I'm going to say, keep a list of everything. Keep your log, put everything on your log. You do one thing at Sunday school, one Sunday, you enter that as service. And maybe you'll put some smaller things together later. Who knows, or you might be doing it again and again. Who knows? So keep track of everything. And sometimes even the small things are valuable enough to put into your application. It's unusual for the interview to be the deal breaker because the vast majority of people that we invite for an interview are wonderful. They're professional. Their comportment is professional. They have practiced and the communication is good. So usually that is not a deal breaker. But I guess in the interview setting, being superficial and being a bit on the unprofessional side, like a little too casual for this formal event can approach the breaking of the deal. So others we talked about already, maybe there's a lack of experiences or the application is lacking in certain areas. The personal statement is usually not a deal breaker, but it can be. And violations, we have lots of applicants who have small violations, and usually that's not a reason, usually. Some general tips for you are that you want to apply in the year where you're most ready. So apply in your year. You may be on a traditional pathway where all of your friends are like getting everything ready and you're in groups talking about this, but maybe you haven't done everything that you want to do, or you recognize already that there are deficiencies in your application. Okay. So wait until everything is as complete as possible. This is something else a little pearl for you. We ask you to do way too much. I bet somebody's going to have a question. I'm not watching the chat right now. I'm not a great multitasker, but I bet we talk about gap years a little more. We ask you to do way too much. We ask you to do all these things in 4 years. And the topmost is to be very skilled academically. We want you to be excellent students because that next step up to medical school is a big, huge step in your brain work. So anyway, we want you to do that. We want you to learn about healthcare. We want you to serve. We want you to lead. We want you to do all these things. It is very hard to do that in 4 years. And more people are taking gap years to have a richer experience in some of those areas that you want to have. Luke 12:48. Does anybody know Luke 48? This is to whom much is given, much is required. So when you are, I call it the mom, dad, aunt, uncle, sibling factor. When you have resources at your fingertips, like you're in a family who is connected to a medical school, or you've got physicians in your family, make sure you use them as a resource, but also you don't lean on that. You reach out. We need to see that you're an adult and doing things on your own as well. Okay. So you never would rest on that. And a key question for reapplicants is in the TMDSAS application, and it says, what have you done to improve this application this round? Okay. A lot of people tell us that they've made a better score, that they finished out academically their schooling with better grades. They now know how to do it. They've honed their study skills. Other people tell us about taking on research or other experiences that in which they grow in certain ways. So that's key. And sometimes we do see that people haven't done like too much, and that's a hard question to answer. Um, General tips. Number 2, describe activities in the best way. I say there's good, better, best, and you need to aim for best, and that takes reflection. So it's good that you do an activity. It's good that you shadow. It's good that you tell us that you shadow. Better is to tell us a little bit about your role in that healthcare experience, but the best way is to use reflection, and I'm going to give you some prompts to ask yourself after any activity, after anything that you're going to list in your personal biography. You can enrich that description with some reflection and the prompts. And I'm going to read to you some examples. I love this presentation because I have dug through many applications to find you some really great examples of exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's coming up. Don't oversell, don't exaggerate. If you're repeating activities in places, it looks to us like you think that it wasn't enough, so you're padding. So I think here is a good time to tell you, if you haven't already, even if your application is years down the road, get the application guide. I think it's called the guide, the application guide. It's on the TMDSA. I'm talking TMDSAS now. AMCAS is a little bit different, but you need to read and click on every single thing in that guide because it's going to tell you how to answer every single question. And so for the personal biography section, your log of activities, it's going to say it's going to tell you there are only 2 exceptions. Pick one category, put one activity in one category. If it's, I think I have I think I have this on another slide, but leadership is one place, and work, of course. If you're a scribe, you should put that under employment, but you should also put that under healthcare for sure. Okay, so you can repeat in the right places. I also think we are very forgiving if you, for example, have a great research job and you're talking to patients, you're triaging, you're consenting them, you're checking on them in the course of the research study. If you have encounters with patients, I think you could separate that to put research and put some in healthcare. But you can't copy and paste the description, right? It would be a different description. I love my shoebox method. Maybe some of you know about the shoebox. You need to structure, even if you have a resume, you have a log that you're already using. We can give you a link so that you can have my Excel sheet. I think it's got a lot of good information on there for you. And on the log, the columns are there because those are pieces of information that TMDSAS asked you. So if you're filling this in right now in real time, way ahead of time, it's kind of fun homework to catch up on that, and kind of fun homework to do reflection on the community service that you did, a while back, that kind of thing. Okay. You need to do a critical and real assessment. You need to gather all this information, hear all about it from a lot of the schools are doing application workshops or presentations right now. You need to listen to all those. Everybody's going to give you some great tidbits, but then you need to look at your application and be real and do a very good be very self-aware and self-critical about what you might need to add there. Everything, these are some more tips and pearls. Everything counts, large and small. Okay. The small things you might group together if you have small pieces of little pieces of service. All good things are good. So we'll have some questions, and that's fine, about, is this good? And I've got pharmacy tech certification, and I've got this or that. All good things are good. Some are going to weigh more. Some do have a higher value. I'm going to put it this way. Some have a higher face value. Okay. Scribing, for example, could have a higher face value. Okay. Until you describe some other healthcare activity for me, you've reflected on it, you've answered the prompts, you've written about these things, so you have them in your heart and can tell me about another healthcare experience that's of very high value, then I'm going to give just as much weight to that because you brought the value to me. It's not something that I'm assuming. Am I making sense? Okay. And it's your journey and no one else's. And so these are those other pieces that you need to have. I didn't put them in here. We'll do superpowers later sometime, but you need to stay confident. You need to not listen if your friends around you getting interviews or being more ready, or they have some fabulous experience, like stop. If it's coming to you in a negative way, just stop it and know that it's your journey, and your journey and your story is going to be beautiful. Okay. So have confidence, work hard, stay positive. I love that superpower. It's a real superpower. Let's do a little walking through the application. What we see, I like to tell you what we see. We scroll through, flipping up digital pages in a PDF that is produced by the TMDSES for us. And so we see your profile information, like where you're from and who you are and permanent address and things like that. We see your demographics. I have to tell you about photos. Photos can't, none of you in this room are going to do this, but photos actually can be kind of a deal breaker. You are applying in a very competitive place for a competitive spot in medical school. If somebody, you're not going to do this, but if somebody looks like a slob, like, do I want that person being my doctor? I look at the photo's not for identification. We have other ways of making sure you're who you are. It's not so we see who you are. It is, I'm looking at that face, and my committee members are looking at that face saying, is this the warm, friendly, kind, great listener doctor that I'm coming to in the emergency room when I'm bringing my beloved family member to this person? Is this the face that I want to see? Okay. So I know that a lot of people eliminate photos from the application. There are lots of AMCAS schools who don't use a photo because of bias. I think our school and many others are very good about bias, and we're not, what we're looking at that picture for is professionalism and a warm, smiling face, right? So I think you get it. Email, sometimes we see a goofy email. If you've got a goofy email, change it for the cycle. But the other thing to know about email is we all have school emails, admissions emails, and that kind of thing. Sometimes you reach out to us personally. Please use the highest level of professionalism that you can. I it's not a bad thing, but sometimes people just say hello. Well, you know what? Our names are all over the place. Could you give us a name? Our names are there. You could even say hello, Long School of Medicine people, or something. Like we're people reading. We are really people reading your email. We don't have AI to read and answer your emails yet. So I think addressing people correctly, making sure you know the right titles and things, I think is an important professionalism marker. We see your metrics, we see where you went to school and what your majors were, and are you in an honors program? And we're already getting like wowed by the few things we've seen so far. And then we get to your essays. And this is another, it's another presentation, and
I don't know what.
do that soon. But this is where we really get to see who you are and all the hard work and thought and energy you've put into this endeavor. So you've got 2 required, but our friend, Dr. Perry at Paul L. Foster School of Medicine, do you know Dr. Perry at El Paso? She says there are no optional essays. So she means that you're going to lay your life out here for us, and there's probably something else you could tell us. So not everybody uses that optional essay. It's certainly not a deal breaker, but I bet there are other things for you to talk to us about in that third optional essay. We'll look at the prompts in just a second. When you know you've got a violation, either a campus or a municipal sort of violation, do you know what we're looking for? Honesty and remorse. Okay, some people are very clinical, very objective when they are answering this, and we would rather see emotion. We would rather see, I am so sorry. I learned such a lesson from this. I am never making this mistake again. I learned so much, and I'm helping other people not, you know, not have these kinds of violations as well. So honesty and remorse are very important. Honesty is huge. So if you know that something's going to come up in a future background check that we do before matriculation, we look at the timing of the violation, and if you should have known about it, and it should have been in your TMDSAS application, that's dishonesty, and that's a deal breaker. Any part of this process here on, we need honesty and integrity. And then there's that personal biography. So then we scroll down and we see honors and awards and leadership in healthcare and community service and research, extracurricular, work experience, what you have planned for the future. And you get a little section where you can write more about three things, up to three things, and use a few more characters. So here are your three essays. I'm going to give you some TMDSAS updates. One of them is that second essay. The first essay remains the same. Explain your motivation to seek a career in medicine. Include. In fact, I think the prompt says, be sure to include the value of experiences that have prepared you for this. So that is something that you should pay attention to. Sometimes people don't answer the prompt. So sometimes people aren't telling us stories about people they've served or a role model that they really want to mimic in their life. If we don't see stories in the essay, sometimes I predict, gosh, when I scroll up to the personal biography, I'm not going to see too many healthcare or community service. I'm not going to see too much there. And a lot of times I'm right. So you want to use examples, demonstrate your personal attributes, and for reapplicants, you do need to rework those essays. You don't have to completely change the story. You just have to rewrite it, approach it. You've had a year to do other things and think about things and more time for reflection, so it should be changed. The second essay is required, and it's asking specifically now directly about your personal attributes. A key aspect of holistic review includes the consideration of your attributes within the context of their experiences and academic metrics. Describe any personal qualities, characteristics, or lived experiences that could enrich the educational experience of others. So what does stand out for your personal attributes, your characteristics? And then optional is briefly tell us about anything that you didn't get a chance to tell us about somewhere else in the application. Sometimes people use this essay to talk about a poor grade semester. If you do that, you don't want to sound like you're giving excuses. You want to say how you were challenged, you figured out what was wrong, and you learned some lessons, what you took away from that challenge. TMDSAS will tell you to save often. Save often. You're going to have probably another version. You're not going to probably type the final draft into TMDSAS. You probably have some Word copies, right, going on. So save often. The spaces count. So like I put 2 spaces between my sentences. I don't know where I got that, but I just do. Like I could lose a whole beautiful sentence. So watch your spacing when you do the return or space bar. Those count as in those character counts. Don't abbreviate. So TMDSAS tells you do not abbreviate, spell everything out. And I would say there are some things that we all, if it's an abbreviation that we all know, then I think you're okay to abbreviate it. Or tell us, if you're not sure, tell us, write it out once and then use an abbreviation, okay, to save, you want to save those characters. Because how many of you have done this, written this huge, beautiful personal essay, and now you have to cut it? It was perfect, and now you have to cut it, right? So I would put that addendum on the don't abbreviate from TMDSAS. Cut and paste. So you want, as you might learn in a month or two when we do a web chat on personal statement, you want a happy reader. You want me to breeze through this story, feeling it, seeing your passion and all of these beautiful things you've done. You want to organize it, so you want to have paragraphs and such. And sometimes if you cut and paste from another document, Word or whatever, it gets flaky. So it doesn't always cut and paste properly. So if you do cut and paste, check very carefully so that you don't have funny exclamation points or symbols in the wrong places and things like that. So now I'm going to go into the personal biography, which I think is I think personal statement, they're all, every single thing that you type into that application is important. Okay. People who use all lowercase for their name and their address and all that stuff, we notice that. People who use all caps, I don't know if that's like an attention seeking thing, but we notice that, and it's kind of annoying. Okay, so use proper grammar. Every single thing you type in there is very important. But let's talk about this important section of the personal biography. So they're going to ask you to do college only, or what they'll define for you is you've from high school graduation on. So if you've gotten scholarships during that summer period before college, that kind of thing. We do see high school diploma or GED. So from that point on for career changers is what this personal biography is asking you for. They're asking you to list one category only. We've talked about those exceptions. If you've been employed in healthcare, please put your job also in healthcare. Leadership and service, leadership and healthcare, leadership and research. That leadership can be doubled up with almost anything. But if something is a huge endeavor and it has a couple of pieces that really fit, our committee is going to accept that you put it into both categories. I thought this year they were going to add the capacity to go ahead and say, here's my primary category, but secondary or even tertiary categories, but that's not on there yet. Reflect, reflect, reflect. You have to, if you're not a diary person, you need to kind of become a diary person. And I'm telling this, like, boy, I wish I had. I keep some things now, but there are moments about medical school and moments about internship and about learning ophthalmology along the way. I wish I had written down the stories. So they're just like they're Harry Potter threads of smoke right now. And I really wish I had written everything down. So if you're not a diary person, I think you'll love it in a couple of decades. You're too young to think about that, but you'll love it that you wrote things down. That helps you with reflection. Okay. Every time you're doing something, I use my tired example of you painted a house yesterday for Habitat. You had such fun with your friends. You came home all grimy and full of paint. But what did you love about that? What is the greater good that you gave? And what did you receive? Okay. And there are prompts for these things that I'll tell you about. So you need to do some real-time reflection when you're trying to make a quality application and it's May 1 or later and you're typing these things in, is not the best time to reflect. You've got all this pressure on you to do it. You ought to keep it with your log and your notes and reflect in real time. I can't say enough about reflection, and it comes up a lot. So those are the categories again that we already talked about. And here's a little gift for you. You're welcome. So for every activity that you're going to write down, think, how was this meaningful for me? what lessons did I learn from this? Or how did I grow? So I think that those are good prompts. If you're sitting there thinking about that, painting the house for Habitat last weekend, those are some things, and it's same with writing your personal statement early in little bits. It doesn't have to have form even yet. If it comes from your heart and your brain, it's going to be great. So you can perfect it later, but that's the reflection piece, trying to draw out some things out of your soul. Okay. Um, would you like to see some examples of personal biographies? Usually people find this kind of interesting. So this is one person. The yellow here are the headings. Not, I can't fit them all like in order too, so forgive that. But let's see what things we noticed. Some honors and awards, excellence for summer research. That's nice. Many hours in melanoma. Was an officer in pre-health professions. Some more research, over 1,000 hours in research. That sounds good to me. Here's your healthcare, hospital volunteer, shadowing cardiology, family medicine in Oslo, um, shadowing oncology, 240 hours. This should probably be generating some questions for you maybe. So make sure you jot them down, and I'll check the chat, and you and Anna will help me get to questions and thoughts in the chat. So that from there we go to community service, food bank, Project Cure, Boot Walk, Prairie Conservation. I'm not sure what some of these are on the face, but the description should make that clear to me, right? Do you know sometimes people put shadowing, and then I can never figure out like what the setting was. I follow the doctor around. I can't give you a good example, but there was nothing in there when they could have said it was a small clinic, it was a large multi-specialty practice, it was in the inner city. We served people who needed serving. You know, we served the underserved, things like that. So your description has to at least be descriptive. Um, Here we have extracurricular. Looks like an accomplished pianist, art, tennis. Like, so do you know? This extracurricular portion is my favorite piece. It's my favorite piece, and I have talked to some of you about a personal growth plan. That's how you grow this section and tell us some wonderful things. But I love this section because it's a medical school application. I think I'm going to see healthcare, and I think I'm going to see service, but I don't know what's in this section. And this tells me what kind of person you are and what you like to do, and it's a beautiful thing, and describes in so many ways your individuality. I love it. And then here's work: marketing intern, TA, cashier. We love jobs like that, you know, cashier, Jack in the Box, Walmart greeter, all the things, hospital courier. So that's one. Here's, if you had any questions, you could like just unmute and stop me and ask me what I think about something, or what is this. Um, Honors and awards accumulated there. So this is AED. Y'all know what that is? That's the Honor Society, undergrad Honor Society. Don't forget to put, if you belong to an organization that has criteria and you meet the criteria, then you should put that under honors and awards. And remember that there's an academic and a non-academic honors and awards. So if you win a poetry contest or a photography award, that should be listed. Okay. Research scholar, anything that you got that everybody else did not get, you know, you were selected. Even if you were nominated for something, that's a selection process. So you should put that you were nominated for the award. Research looks good.
Can
Um,
I enter?
yes,
We have a question.
yes.
It's shadowing in various versus single settings.
Yeah, yeah, good. So that is one of the most frequently asked questions. And I think you're going to get a little bit of a different answer the more people you ask. So we like to see some things in your application that are long-term, but not everything, not everything. Particularly in healthcare, it's hard to obtain these experiences sometimes, a lot of times. Am I right? Have you had to it's work to get out there. So you grab on to what you can and you make the most of it. All right. So we like, in a perfect world, I guess we'd see some long-term things. I kind of might like to see more of a long-term thing in community service, maybe with Big Brothers Big Sisters. That's a beautiful commitment to a young person who needs you as a mentor, or a long-time commitment. Sometimes we uh, honor people's or commend people's application when we're talking at committee because they've been in some area for a long time. Okay, but we realize that that's hard to do. So neither one of those is a deal breaker unless you did shadowing for 4 hours here, shadowing for 2 hours there, shadowing for 8 hours. Those are kind of small numbers. When we think the average is about 150 to 250 for healthcare and community service. Okay. Don't worry about it. If you're not there, it's the meaning and the value that's most important to us than the hours. Okay. So in a perfect world, we'd see some of both, but we understand that that's just the way we are right now. Does anybody see something like a little bit bad about this? What do you see, Julian? Yeah, extra and Ciara and Francisca. No extracurriculars. So sometimes people put their organizations, lots and lots and lots of people put running. If we have a chance, we'll talk about personal growth plan and get a new video up on I think we've got one old one about personal growth plan, but like do something, teach. I love to see, I am teaching myself Spanish. I taught myself the guitar. I am, I got with friends and we're learning tennis. Our friend is teaching us tennis. Something. I bake. Do you think baking is not good enough to put on there? Then do it a little more frequently. Challenge yourself with some special recipes or different kind of cuisine, baking something from another part of the world. Those kinds of things, just all kinds of things could go in there. Community service looks several different things here and worked as a nanny, research scholar and scribe. Let's go on. Tell me if you see like dancing and run. I'm hopping right to the extracurricular because that's my favorite part. Employee of the month at Costco, probably one of the hardest jobs. I'm not sure what pathogen training is. I hope in the description it got described. Sales advisor, looks like there's some experience at Costco, right? You see it repeated here, but that's okay. That's okay. This is employment, but they had leadership there, pathogen training. Look, caretaker. This person did a lot with their teenage brother who may be other abled. And so we think on the surface, even that caregiving is a very valuable thing to us usually. And so that's a good thing. That's anything where you're sacrificing your time to be with another person who needs you is of high value. And if you don't have one of those experiences, I would gather a couple because I think we get so much out of that as well. This person has shadowed in Iran a couple of times. Persian community volunteer, science, dancing, running. What else have we got? Okay, so I love these. I hope you will love these. Hopefully these will give you an idea of what I'm talking about when you use reflection to make them the best description ever. Medical scribe, Muleshoe, Texas, a medical scribe. So what's wrong with this? What's wrong with this item? A medical scribe works closely with the physician to document patient information. Working as a scribe provided experience with using electronic health records and learning the terminology. So like probably 90-something% of the people who read your application are physicians. We kind of know what a scribe is. No offense or anything, anybody, but you didn't need to waste those characters telling us what a scribe is, right? So and look at this person, they didn't ever connect themselves in that experience, meaning in your personal statement, I'm going to tell you, count your I, me, my, and if you have too many eyes, then you need to restructure your sentences, right? And get it to a higher level. But in this, working as a scribe provided experience. Well, like, how about provided me with so much good, valuable, like, where are the power words? Like, where are Where's the good stuff? It's just not there. Yes, defining instead of elaborating all the things. Very good. So here's another one that is a little lackluster. Helped direct hospital volunteer, helped direct patients to their appointments and also answered questions at the visitor center. Sometimes transported patients if needed. Okay, you ready? They didn't write this. I did this for you to show you a lackluster item. But look what they actually, oh, I didn't realize there was a animation in there, sorry. Look what they actually did right in a real application. I love this, and this is your best example of what we're looking for. And when I say reflection, this is what I mean. I provided comfort, hope, and support to patients and families, enhancing my ability to communicate and show compassion in challenging situations. This is, I know this person understands that our every healthcare worker is with patients on some of the worst days of their lives, right? They know that. They told me that. Demonstrated ability to counsel and help create a positive environment for patients while maintaining a professional presence. How awesome is that? Really good. Do you see what I mean? And that was only 270 characters. Those are, as you, if you've heard my personal statement thing, power words. Those are powerful words. Every other word is a power word. Comfort, hope, support. Those are power words. Compassion, challenging, professional, counsel, positive. Those are all power words. So that is chock full of power words. Okay, this is the courier person. And this person actually wrote this also. Served as a liaison between pharmacists and doctors to ensure medication was delivered in a timely manner to the appropriate rooms. That sounds like a little bit of a description, but I like the timely and that person, and I wish they could have made it a little more personal. I wanted to ensure that it was delivered in a timely manner, communicated with doctors and nurses and pharmacists when medication needed to be modified, and resolved issues quickly, developed skills to work effectively on a team. So lots of good descriptors in there. Okay, not just I worked at the pharmacy. Worked in small teams to organize and, oh, here's what Project Cure is. Worked in small teams to organize and distribute donated items to be transported to underserved countries. Learned how to make an impact. Learned how to make an impact on the team when working with the team, on a team. Communicate effectively and follow guidance of others. Demonstrated ability to plan, organize, and deliver within a given time frame. Love that. Are these good examples? Are you getting the message? It's good to have like real actual samples of what we see that we like. Food bank. Worked with it. I love, often I'll say people will have something listed and I'm like, was this a little endeavor, a big effort? Like how many? So this person worked with 40 people to prepare meals and essential items for those in need, taught me the importance of collaborating with others to be productive and efficient. Frequently assigned as team leader, that's neat, to oversee volunteers and ensure coherence of the process. Really good examples, right? So that's what you're aiming for with those reflections. This is the TMD-SAS cycle for you in the coming year. If you're applying this year, May 1, it opens. May 15th, you can submit. Remember, once you submit, it could be a month before it's transmitted. There are some steps on our side that aren't on here. So it could be a week. If you submit on May 15th, we probably do have you by May 30th. But if you're submitting in August or September, it's probably getting to us a month later. They do a lot of checking on your work to make sure it's complete. Then there are some EDP is early decision programs. You might want to look, we don't have one at Long, but you might want to look at some of those. Early decisions announced. And then you know that we have a pre-match offer period, so early acceptances can go out. Application deadline is at midnight on November 1st. The letters of recommendation deadline, the match is on February 16th next year. And your list of preferences is due by February the 2nd. And any questions about any of that, we can tackle those. We have after the match, I want you all to remember this. After the match, we have months of wait pool period, but everybody waits for the deadline. Here's a little professionalism point for you. If you have a couple of schools, you have a couple of, say it's match, you know, you went through match day or you're an out-of-stater, after match day, you could have another offer from another school. How long does it take you to decide that? You know, we have people waiting from February until April deadlines, the double deposit day. It would be very professional if you would decide. Now, if you need other information or whatever, then that's a different thing. And you reach out, like, we want to give you another chance to visit the school and things like that. But if you know which school you're selecting, please go ahead and do that so that the schools on our end can invite somebody into that spot. So anyway, and then we have a professional courtesy day in Texas. So if you are deposited in another school on May 15th, we do not pull, if we have a spot on the 16th or on June 1st, we do not pull people out of Texas schools because it's got to end sometime. There is this is new for TMDSES, there's a new evaluation form, so you will be able, and honestly, I think the schools, I think on our side, this had a lot of support among undergrad campuses. It's really meant for a letter writer who's not at an undergrad campus, okay? But I think on our side, this is a uniform evaluation form, and I think on the medical school side, we're gonna love this. So that is one possibility for you to tell your letter writers, just to, you tell TMDSAS the name and the email, and then they get access to this form. And these are the things that are evaluated there. In a nutshell, take on a challenge, improve yourself, get out of your comfort zone, and learn about the world and her people. So if I had anything to leave you with, those are the things. And you do that and be purposeful, be organized, be disciplined, and use reflection. You can do all that with a personal growth plan. And we can talk more about that if you wish. I know we are scheduled to do this until 1:30. So
We have some
we
questions.
have lots of time for questions or to go into things. Yes, Anna.
So whenever you're ready, we have some questions.
Great. I'm ready.
Okay, so we'll start off with, we get a question that says, if you're currently working on a research project, but have not yet finished the project, would you enter that under research or should it be under planned activities?
Yeah, no, if you've started it, it's just hasn't like completed. If you're in the planning stages, even if it's early, you can list that. Planning means I haven't done anything yet. The research items, when you list a research item, the box will open up so that you can also tell us if you have done a presentation, an abstract, or did I say publication or a poster or an abstract or a publication, anything related to that research goes in that section. But if you hope to have something published or presented, then that's okay. You would put it in the current activity. It sounds like you started it, so.
And under a similar vein, would grants that they applied for and received for themselves or their department be listed under honors and awards?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Those things.
Third, is the third optional TMDS essay only for discussing road bumps in your application and hardships, or could it be used to describe a hobby or interesting activity you like to do?
Yes, it's anything. It's anything. And actually, I wish we had modified that one to ease up. It says something special and unique. You might not think about it as special and unique, but that is for anything else you want to tell us. And I think I have seen, I'm trying to find who to mute. Sorry, I need focus.
Okay, yeah.
See, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Where was I? I'm sorry. What was the question?
And now I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
Somebody. Oh dear. Okay.
Need
Need coffee.
I'm so sorry. I'm reading the other, I'm planning ahead.
That's
I'm so
okay.
sorry.
That's
We're
okay.
talking about the third question, whether
Yeah.
it's an
So
option for
anything, oh yeah,
roadblocks
so I
or
was gonna
activities.
say, I have seen people effectively do a couple of topics there. I just wanted to tell you about this, and then also I want to add this. So to me, it's okay to have a couple of different things in there with those 2,500 characters. Sorry. Okay,
Okay,
we'll edit that part out.
so
That's video.
another question on activities. Do you recommend including mini stories and activity descriptions to show growth or impact? And added to that, should they be mini narratives or more of our resume phrasing?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I hear this question not uncommonly. Stories are great. So do you, it's memorable to me. I don't know if it will be memorable to you, but the one applicant who wrote that they try to bring hope and comfort and support to families as they're transporting them around in the hospital, right? That was kind of a story. So if that's what you mean by a story, that's great. Um, it, I'm not sure that they do give you 500 characters now for those item descriptions. So you don't have a whole lot of room to talk about a story and much more room in the essays. But if you can fit it in there, um, yes, do it. But it should have meaning, value, um, how did you grow? What lessons did you learn? So, and often
Okay.
that's well told in a study. Okay, and I have
So,
publication and poster presentations for the same manuscript. That would probably go under one research experience, but you'll get a chance to list all the things. Okay, and very good. Yes. So yes, superpowers, right? So thank you, Tomas. Should we just share the superpower with everybody? And maybe the next web chat should be on superpowers. In superpowers, we talk about a lot of things that you need, and one of them is confidence. And yes, Tomas, I do it like all the time to like to get centered and to have build the confidence that I need to go on and do things. We're having a budget meeting on Friday, so I'm doing a lot of power posing. One of your superpowers is confidence, and I want you. We can share that resource with everybody. The all we have a until I have a book to give you. I have like tons of resources. One resource is a 2-page series of links. And 2 of those links are my favorite TED Talks to tell you about. And those are, one is Amy Cuddy. Dr. Amy Cuddy is a social psychologist, and her studies told us about the interviewing process. And if somebody just acts like they're confident and composed and assured, they are rated higher by the subject who was the interviewer. But she twisted her research a little bit. That's not the right word. That doesn't sound like a good word. She expanded her research and did research on us in a stressful situation, all of us, any of us. And if you stand, y'all want to do it? Okay, everybody stand up. Watch your camera. Everybody stand up. And what you do, I'm sorry, I'm in the dark there. What you do is you stand, you can't see me. My arms are akimbo. Is that what you call that? Like, like stand in a powerful pose. Stand in a pose of power. Shoulders back, head up, gaze up, strong and standing up straight. If you do this for 2 minutes, if you just stand like you're confident, you don't even have to be thinking anything. If you just stand there for 2 minutes, your physiology changes and you become less stressed out and more powerful and confident in your mind. The stress hormone goes down significantly, and your power hormone, your aggression kind of hormone, testosterone, goes up, cortisol goes down. It changes you physiology. So her point is, you do that over and over and over. You don't fake it till you make it. You fake it, you're becoming it as you're faking it. So it's a wonderful thing when you have a big study session, or, you're going to start the day for MCAT prep. A power pose is really a great thing to do. I haven't seen the study, but I would love to see the study where people do a power pose. So you could put the sticky on your bathroom mirror to remind you that when you're brushing your teeth or something, you're going to stand there for 2 minutes and gain that confidence and assuredness and purposefulness and mindfulness and all those things, right? You could remind yourself to do that. And be sure to do it leading up to, big important things like the MCAT. And you're doing it every day. That is going to build in you. The other interesting piece that I would add on there, another power, another superpower that we talk about is positivity. And I don't know if all of you realize scientifically what having a positive attitude does for you. In short, if you just make yourself smile like this, like I do in traffic, this is what I do in traffic because I'm like, ugh, I'm really gonna like wring somebody's neck, right? They're driving bad and they're driving me crazy. I'll go like this, and I just put my face in the pose of a smile. Just putting your face muscles in that arrangement of a smile releases endorphins like crazy, like finding a pocket full of cash or eating a bunch of chocolate. It's that powerful just to pose. Now, and what happens is then dopamine's released. It makes you feel better. It makes you feel like running endorphins, right? For the runners in the room, you know why you do this, right? But you don't have to get on the track. You can just smile. You can just smile and generate all those endorphins. The dopamine turns on additional dopamine releasers, and dopamine in your brain turns on to learning centers. So when you feel happy, joyful, then that's a good time to like start your study. So before you study, you do your power pose, and then you watch funny cat videos, or you do something, you watch something that makes you laugh, or you look at pictures of your family or something that makes you feel happy and good, and then start your study session, right? So thank you, Tomas, for bringing up the superpowers. What other questions do you have?
I have a couple more here.
Okay, great.
So there's a couple about the length of the personal statement or the descriptor. So one of them was, I noted that sentences started with a verb rather than I worked or I did, because I know that character count is a struggle for the descriptions. So it's starting with a verb like that. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And it was, there was one where I thought it was, I thought that they could have connected themselves a little bit better too. I forget what it is now that they learned, but it's perfectly okay. Not in your personal statement, but in your item descriptions, in your personal biography, it's perfectly okay to just like not use full sentences. And
then
in those characters.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Would there be too many extracurriculars? What would be too many extracurriculars? I'm sorry.
I don't know. Bring them. Let's see them. We'll, so I think that's, so here's where a tipping point might happen. You don't want anybody chuckling at your application for like the wrong reasons, right? You might produce smiles in your readers or a good feeling, but when you have let me say it the right way. I appreciate health. I appreciate runners. I appreciate if you go to the gym and work out. I think that's awesome. But if you're going to log 4,000 hours in the gym and you're going to log 30 hours serving someone, there's a big disparity there. And people are going to chuckle and say, maybe some of those 4,000 hours in the gym should have been spent maybe reading somebody the Bible, or going to a nursing home, or maybe being a mentor for a young person, or maybe working with people who have other abilities. So, that's where a tipping point. Otherwise, if you're teaching yourself that and teaching yourself this, and you're using a personal growth plan, does anybody know what the personal growth plan is? Does anybody not know? I know some of you know.
Anyway. One of the questions is if you could go over that.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Would I love to tell you about the personal growth plan? I sure will. I'll bring it up on the screen. I think that's a place where extracurricular could get to be too much in the number of hours. But if you're doing all kinds of other things, but the other important parts of your application, that biography, are robust, nobody's going to say anything, right? So that's we do need to see kind of balance, and we really should have the balance tipped a little bit towards healthcare and service and leadership and things you're doing to prepare yourself to be a good doctor, right? So, okay, where'd my thing go? I'm sharing. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Maybe we'll do the next web chat about this. So I'm not gonna put the screen view on there. Y'all can see that, right? Right? Yes? Great,
Yes.
thank you. So personal growth plan. So, oh, no, you know what I need to do first? So stories. So maybe, yeah, oh, let me move this. Do y'all know those stories? Does anybody, who does not know, who has not heard me tell a story on this? Enough people. So let me tell you Amy's story at least. Maybe Amy and Maida. So Amy was very, very, very shy. I was interviewing her and very like painfully shy, like frozen shy, like not just an introvert, but man, it was like she could not talk to new people. She could not talk to strangers. She was very passionate about being a doctor, wanted to do that more than anything, and had built a nice journey, right? But she also did something very special. She realized that as a physician, every day, all day, she was going to open the door to the hospital, open the hospital door, open the clinic door. Who was going to be on the other side of that door? A stranger and a family of strangers. And she was going to freeze. She realized that she could be better. So she made a plan. She does not call it a personal growth plan. I call it a personal growth plan for you because you can do this with anything. She made a plan. She got her friends to help her. Through that whole semester, she wouldn't say no. She said yes to the campus activities. Yes, I'll join this. Yes, I'll go to that party. She didn't want to, but she said yes. When she went to the party, she made a goal to meet and talk to 3 strangers, people that she didn't know. I said, Amy, that's brilliant. And I'm going to share this message everywhere. That is brilliant. What a great idea. And how did it go? And she said, I hated it. She hated it. She didn't hate people. This was just a very hard personal thing for her to do. I said, but Amy, we're having a nice time. She said, Dr. K, I had to work really hard on this. I had to work really hard on this. So she took on a challenge. Remember, I told you take on a challenge. Challenges happen and we should get the good lesson from them. But she took on that challenge. Maida is another one, a little bit different. She's from the Valley and always wanted to play an instrument, never had the opportunity. So um, in middle school, she went to the orchestra teacher and she said, please, 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 I think I'd be really good at the violin. Can I please join the orchestra and you'll teach me how to play the violin? Well, the orchestra teacher, any band orchestra people in here? Okay, so you look at these people, they know. They know. So the orchestra teacher said, well, Maida, we've been together for a couple of years now. It's not good. It's just not good timing and good luck to you, but no, you can't do that. So Maida was not undeterred. And she went home and she gave it some thought. And she came back to the orchestra teacher the next day. I never would have gone back. I would have avoided that hallway at all costs. I would have been so embarrassed, but not Maida. And she gained her confidence. Maybe she did an Amy Cuddy pose, Power Woman pose. But she went back the next day and she said, can I give you a proposal? If you'll let me into orchestra for 2 weeks and teach me how to do the violin, you'll never see anybody work harder. And I'll show you that I think I'm really going to be good at this. So what could she say? And the orchestra teacher said, okay. So the people who raise their hand from band and orchestra know this, that after every week at band or orchestra, do you know what they do? Do you know what they do to you? They rank you out loud in public in front of everybody. They say, you're number 1 and you're number 2. Good job. And you're number 32. You better get to work. You're number 29. Like, what happened to you? They rank you. So she screeched her way through the first week. She was at the bottom. She screeched her way through the second week, and poor Maida was at the bottom again. But that beautiful teacher said, here is, I'm going to let you borrow this violin. And here's a place where you can take some lessons. And you know what? She made her dream come true. She had always wanted to do music, never could figure out how to do it. And she took that step out and did it. So my point is that if you back to this slide, what do you need to improve upon, like Amy? Are there personal and I think you underrate your personal attributes. Are you a great communicator? Are you demonstrating empathy? Are there ways that you should or could reach out to be a better comforter, to be a better empathizer, right? To show more compassion? Or are there things, is there just something that you would like to do? Like what ukulele for, this is my tired example too. Ukulele 4 strings, like how hard can that be? YouTube teachers all over the place. Learn to play Beatles things on the ukulele. You want to play golf or tennis, find a friend, form a group. My point is, Amy nor Myra told us about those things in the application. This is the big point that I missed, sorry. That only came out in the interview. If I didn't tell that story to committee, the committee would not have known the things that they thought were the most spectacular things about those 2 applicants. We didn't know how hard Amy worked to communicate, to get to a better place in communication. And we did not know, we saw Maida in college had started a mariachi club and did service and was violining all over the place. She accomplished it, but we didn't know her start until we learned that. So my point for you is, do you have a hobby? Take it to another level. You read, log your books, read your favorite author, read everything your favorite author wrote. You like grilling. This is another, it's a fun example. If you like to grill, like have grill parties once a month, have a topic like chicken and put, $5 in the pot and the person with the best chicken wins. Take something that you always wanted to do and do it. Log it, plan it and log it, and then you can tell us what you did, right? You took your your baking to another level, or you learned how to communicate better, or those kinds of things. So I think in any semester, having a personal growth plan or one or two things on your personal growth plan would be great. Don't forget the personal attributes, because maybe you need to be more organized. Find an organizational method. Set your alarm every Sunday so you look at the week coming at you ahead, so things aren't a surprise to you. Somewhere in here, I guess those are the main points. So watch for the other web chat that we'll do soon for more on the personal growth plan. Okay, what else? You are very welcome. What else do you want to talk about?
Okay, so we have a couple of more questions
Okay.
here. We have someone with Canadian coursework and just wanted to know how they won't get skipped
Yeah.
if TMDS says they don't have the prerequisites, even if they do.
Yeah.
What would be their process?
Yeah, so there are 2 parts to that: course deficiencies and Canadian coursework. So we have a handful of students every year, and the metrics are important. So we see the MCAT and we see GPA overall and GPA science. The GPA comes across as a 0. So then I go, well, I bet this is a person who went to McGill or, went to somewhere in Canada. And yes, indeed, that's the college. We will see the transcripts. So I don't want to do for some reason, I don't know. I think it's very expensive, but we will see your grades. I don't want to calculate all the A's and B's and hours and things like that, but if we see mostly great grades, we're assuming that we're making some assumptions about academic strength. On occasion, not regularly anymore at all, do we ask that person to go through one of those transcription services where they take the grades and actually give us an official GPA. That's not very common that we do that anymore. We can kind of judge by the MCAT, the courses taken, and then the grades we see on the transcript. Okay, so our school will look at you if grades, you know, if we see a lower number of hours or something indicating that there might be some not US coursework. What else was I going to say? And then the deficiencies, quite often TMDSAS, we do a lot, and TMDSAS won't recognize a course at your particular school as a prerequisite being fulfilled. And that's what I'm doing right now. Stacks and stacks of course deficiencies. I'm going to make a YouTube video on how to fill out that form. Because I think it's confusing, but we're very flexible. All these questions, you know, you need to ask of other places because other people are going to have different answers for you. We're very flexible. If you're missing an hour or this or that, you're missing 3 hours of English, but we thought there was no problem with communication. We work to find, you work by looking at your transcript to find a course substitution, like a course that was writing or reading heavy, and write it in there as a course to substitute. And I'm going to say, okay. And if we just can't find anything to substitute for a physics lab or whatever it is, then I just waive it. Okay. Because at that point you're accepted. We're okay. We're more than okay. We're thrilled with your academic strength as we've seen so far. So that was a little blurb about deficiencies. What else you got, Anna?
Okay, so okay, so I have a couple here. So one asks, would you recommend recording every hobby as a separate entry and writing a story about each? And also, where would you include a personal growth story like Amy and Maya's?
Yeah.
Or would that be part of the personal statement?
Yeah, no, very good. So Amy could have written about that in the optional essay. It sounds like a good topic for the main essay to me, but at the very least, she could have used 500 characters in the description, entitled it Working on My Communication Skills, put the dates, put the hours that she was at a party, meeting new people, talking to new people, and then in the description say, I realized my extreme shyness was going to get in the way, and I've been working on that by meeting new people and purposefully, you know, working on this as with goals and purpose. So yes, any of those things that you are going to take on as a personal growth plan could go in the extracurricular section at the very least. It doesn't mean surfing. It doesn't mean surfing the internet, like looking at this, looking at that. If you do it with purpose. So if you take on a TED Talk hobby, for example, that's one that's in the Excel. The resource that we can share with you is a TED Talk copy. It doesn't mean like surf. It means I'm curating a list. I love astronomy and geology. I just never had time to study it, and they're hobbies for me. So I have curated a list of TED Talk, and every week I learn about astronomy and geology. So then you're logging the hours, you're doing it, and you can see your growth, and we can see that you took on this new thing or even a challenge. Okay. So that's where your personal growth plan things can go. Even if you're working on some of the personal attributes, you know, being positive, there are things you can do. Gratitude journals are an excellent exercise. That guy's name is Shawn Achor, Achor. He's hilarious, and his 20-minute video is all about like holding the pencil in your teeth and smiling and being positive, and it has some things at the end about creating more positivity and an attitude of gratefulness in your life and things like that. All good things.
I have one more. This one I think is super important. How are we, it says, curious how you guys are dealing or the viewpoints regarding ChatGPT, AI, and support for writing statements and descriptions.
Yeah, that's very good question. So you will sign an attestation on your TMDSAS application that all of this is truth. All of this is your work. I forget how it's worded, but you're going to sign, you're going to attest to that. We don't know where the line is. We've done a couple of experiments and had discussions. We had a discussion at a recent meeting, and in my email popped up, you know, the AI summary of everything. It was not very good. It was not a very good summary at all. You know that the more you put into this, the better things you get out. So there's there's some sort of gray area, you're gonna sign an attestation. So I would get your help from people. I would, ask people to read it and share and all that stuff. I would not use AI. Because I don't know that we have that terminology specifically in that attestation, but that's what we mean. We mean you're not generating something from AI. So. Yes, very interesting, right? I think it's going to be very helpful. Julian, but we're all approaching it with caution. Yes. I can't hear you. And then we have another one I'm going to
Had the
answer.
wrong microphone turned on.
Okay.
I had another question. I had a question. Could we put non-academic, non-published research on our application? And how does the committee feel about that?
Oh, sure. Like all good things are good. So if it's a positive thing, I'm sure we will see it as a positive thing. And what's the realm of activity?
So I'm in charge of a lot of things, EMS in my fire department, and I do a lot of research as far as our intubation success rates and clinical skills within us and other departments to determine kind of what's the best thing we can do here, but obviously that's not published.
Uh,
in any-
No, I think I think that's a perfectly fine thing to add. And you'll have to figure out whether to put it in research, recognizing that it's a little atypical for the kinds of things that we're gonna see, or to put it under healthcare, maybe. But if you're talking specifically about a research aspect of your job, I think that would be fine. I think that sounds great. And thank you for serving.
Thank you. And I have one more question. Sorry, I hope I'm not hogging.
No, like people will get in line or get in the chat line. That's fine. And your question probably other people have as well.
So for you personally, maybe this is the secret sauce that you don't want to share, but when you review applications, what's the first thing that you look at?
Extracurricular.
I
Honestly,
figured as much.
yeah. And then I'm sort of skimming it first, and so I get through. I do skim the essay and then and look at the biography, and then go back and read your story. That's not the order in which it's presented, but yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm glad you said it that way, because we seek to be utterly transparent. Utterly transparent. There are no gotcha questions here at Long. There are no things we're keeping hidden from you, because we want to know, we don't do MMIs in that way. We don't need your answer on the spot right this second, that we're not looking for that skill. We're looking to see who you are. And the more we can tell you about who we're looking for and who we think makes a good doctor, the more you can form your journey in a powerful way, I think. So yeah, so we aim to be very informative and transparent. And I have one, so very welcome. Hobbies would go under extracurricular. Yes, thank you. And I think that prompt could be expanded, Inara. And let's see, did y'all put your thing in the QA? Have we answered, do you see a QA, Anna?
Yes,
Okay.
and that's the one I'm reading off.
Okay, awesome. And then let's see. Hang on. One is, would it be preferable to do a do-it-yourself post-bac or master's level? Oh, and Evangelina had to pop off, so maybe I'll find her and tell her, but or master's level post-bac for someone who's working full-time and has low science. Yeah. Gosh. So people who work full-time, you're in a challenging situation, and I think it might, I don't know whether, I don't know the answer to that question. You're gonna have to look at available things. I think it's perfectly reasonable to do a do-it-yourself post-bac. If you are several years out of school, then there's a thing called Fresh Start, which is excellent for about a handful of people every year. Okay, so that is, and to do GPA repair, we all, well, not all, some of you don't have this problem, but some of us started out with, college, pristine college transcript that then got 3 C's on it for the first freshman semester, right? So, and some of us took a while to come out of that and learn how to really do it. And Texas recognizes that with a program called Fresh Start. And that, I wish they would change the years, but if you are applying for 2025, but you were in college in 2015, 16, 17, it will wipe out grades 10 years and back from the time you're applying. So often that is good enough to help the grade repair along with current science courses. And that way, maybe you could do it yourself. But we'll have to get to Evangelina, and let her know that.
So we have, how are Casper scores evaluated and weighted?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So a Casper test is a situational judgment test. It is like an MMI. In fact, it was born of the same mother. McMaster University in Canada, by the way, created MMIs. Short, direct, they demonstrate situational, what would you do if you were in this situation, how would you behave? So they created that and then made it exportable as the Casper test. They have a very robust rating system. They check it all the time for minimizing the disparities that we can sometimes see from group to group or experience to experience, that kind of thing. So it is the exported MMI. So we so we don't do an MMI interview style, but we do use the Casper test. It is a touch point, meaning everybody has the same experience. If you're paying attention and preparing for everything, you can actually do well on it. We use it as just an augmented piece of information. We use hundreds of pieces of information on every applicant. We do not use it we only use it in a positive way, meaning if we see a really, really low Casper, but we see all these other like great things and the interviews are great and the bio is wonderful and all the things are great, then we're ignoring that one piece, just like we would ignore one negative piece of something in the activity or something in the application. So we do use it when we're screening people about halfway through the cycle or our screening process. We will pull in people with very high Caspers. It is a measure of those personal attributes. It's not a personality test. MMI is not a personality test. It's a situational judgment test. So it's asking, what would you do in this situation? You're thinking as the test taker, how am I going to tell them I'm compassionate? I feel sorry for this person who has this problem, but I'm going to get with my team and be collaborative. So you're trying to demonstrate all of your personal characteristics as you answer that Casper test. It is not, it is not a Facebook, like what fruit are you or something, like it is not a personality test like that. It is what personal attributes that we value are you going to demonstrate in that short period of time. Okay. So we will pull in people that we hadn't screened in yet with a high Casper, because if they rated high on an assessment of a variety of personal attributes, we need to talk to that person. Okay, does that make sense? Quaja, how do you pronounce it?
Yeah, you got it pretty close. Quaja.
Quaja, okay. Thank you.
So I just wanted to add on to the question that I asked earlier about the Canadian transcripts coursework. So as I said, I did get that message from TMDSAS saying that, you haven't reached your prerequisites, and that's how it was processed, right? I didn't think much of it because when I contacted TMDSAS, they said that's okay, they get all your info. But when I spoke to other schools during their reapplicant seminars, they did say that I should have emailed them about this message saying that, hey, even though it shows up that, prerequisites aren't reached, all my prerequisites have been reached if you look at, my entire transcripts. So they told me to email them. I just wanted to double check to see if you guys wanted me to do that too.
We're going to see it. It never hurts to email. It never hurts to email. And we've got, you know, an admissions email, and we look at the content there all the time,
Okay.
and help people like that. We would see your Canadian coursework, and we're not worried about prereqs in the beginning, really. We're assuming that you're working on them. Most people still are a traditional applicant. You're still working on some of those things. And once we select a person for interview, we're pretty secure about your academic acumen. We're pretty sure that you're okay with the academic strength that we see. And it's only later with acceptances that we go back and work those deficiencies. But other schools might take those into consideration ahead of time. So we don't. It never hurts to email. And let's see what else. That's all. And like your MCATs, sometimes people retake, and I tell people, yeah, go ahead. We're gonna catch it. We capture the latest one and the highest. So, but go ahead and email to let us know that you did great, you know. So
Okay, sounds good. I'll be sure to then just send that email after I submit the application.
okay.
I appreciate the time that you've given us. Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. I think it's probably about time to pop off. Yeah, so thank you for asking, Jordan. Out-of-staters, we love our out-of-staters. There's a video on the Interview Day channel about, and it's entitled "We Love Our Out-of-Staters." So we look for Texas ties, but those aren't essential. What's essential is all the things that we just talked about here. So you're going to stand out by virtue of your journey and how you tell us about that journey with reflection and meaning. Good. Thank you for asking. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for being here with us today. Anything, is Anna, did they change places? I think, did we cover everything?
Yes, she had to go to another meeting.
Okay, okay. So Alyssa, do you have a question? We'll do one more.
Yeah, sorry, I just have a really quick question.
Okay.
Thank you for the time.
Sure.
I had a question about, life happens. Sometimes there's extenuating circumstances, medical illness or things like that that might negatively impact your GPA, that might kind of bring you below those thresholds that you're normally looking at. Is that something, is there a way to, I guess, denote that about your application so that it gets to the point where someone's looking at it to read those essays, without it just being completely kind of screened out? I know y'all do a holistic review, but I could understand if you're like, oh, I've got so many to get through, we're just
Right.
not in the right range.
Right.
What would be the best way to go about that?
Yeah, so I think that that's a good use of that optional essay, perhaps. But if the life happening, is that was a challenge that fell on you, it's something very powerful in your story. I would write about it, and it might fit in the main essay too. I see where you're going. And the GPA, there are like 5,000, more than 5,000 applications. You're right. You do. So there's going to be a bit of number screening for very, very low metrics, because we just can't get through all of those. So it just depends on what that level is. But I think that your personal statement is a good place to put that. Sounds like to me. Okay.
Great, thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And it sounds like you'll have, very valuable things to tell us about what those lessons were for you. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Belinda, thanks for hopping in to help us. I appreciate it. Thank y'all for being here, and good luck to you. Watch for emails. We've got some other things planned. Okay. So good luck. Take care. Keep up the good work. Okay. Bye now. Unmute. If you unmute and say goodbye, that'd be nice.
Bye, Dr. K.
Bye.
Bye.
For your
Thank
time.
you.
Nice to meet y'all. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.